Well, Dream Scenario was difficult to watch, but I think it was an important movie for me to see. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Dream Scenario, which just released today on HBO Max, reads, "A hapless family man finds his life turned upside down when millions of strangers suddenly start seeing him in their dreams. When his nighttime appearances take a nightmarish turn, Paul is forced to navigate his newfound stardom." Okay, so what does this thing generally feel like? What type of movie is it? I would say it's a drama with one wild sci-fi or maybe fantasy conceit that he is being seen in dreams of complete strangers, and it's very widespread. There are multiple sequences, dream sequences, showing weird things happening, but they don't make up the percentage of the movie that the trailer might lead you to believe. Most of the movie is about Paul Matthews, played by Nicolas Cage, dealing with the ups and then the downs of becoming famous for a really strange reason. At the start, he wants recognition and perhaps even fame, but he doesn't get it for the reasons he wants, namely for his work and career accomplishments. His fame is out of his control, and for reasons that he increasingly dislikes. And it causes major problems in his life and in his closest relationships, most tragically of all with his wife, with whom he already had an unhealthy marriage. The first half of the movie often made me feel uncomfortable because Paul is awkward and nerdy, it's just kind of like socially he brings discomfort to the people that he interacts with. You can tell that pretty early on. And so there's lots of cringy moments and increasingly types of situations that I didn't want to see him in that just made me really tense. I'm like, oh man, I am not having a good time here. And these kinds of scenes evolved into really sad life situations as his status quo just gets increasingly worse and does not end on a happy note. There is no reason given for why or how Paul was appearing in people's dreams. So I would say don't watch the movie hoping for an explanation. Instead, it's really a drama about how fame or recognition can bring great unhappiness and not be what one might think or hope for. Now, as far as the cast goes, I really thought great performances across the board. Plenty of faces that I didn't recognize and all really suited to their roles, I thought. And certainly Nicolas Cage was really strong for me in this movie. He plays the middle-aged, awkward nerd very sympathetically, in my opinion. There was a lot in his performance that added layers and dimensions to the dialogue that are just not there at face value. I was endeared to him. I felt bad for him. I was disappointed in him. I cringed at his choices. And so much of that was due to how Nicolas Cage's performance fleshed out the character of Paul Matthews. As far as like visual effects and stuff like that, the effects are mostly practical, which sells, I think, the sense of dreams feeling very real while we are having them. I think if they would have gone really trippy and all kind of spectacle going on, it wouldn't have had the same impact. Although not frequent, these kind of sequences and the effects that come with them are littered throughout the movie, and I was very satisfied with the approach and the execution of the effects. As far as themes, oh man, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that could trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? There are thematic elements related to internet fame, cancel culture, self-centeredness, and dysfunction in marriage. Those are just the ones that immediately come to mind. I was really thinking and processing a lot throughout watching this movie. But I think the big theme that popped out to me was the idea of gaining recognition and it not being what you had hoped for. So many of us unknowingly look for affirmation of our significance or worth from other people based on what we do, achieve, or produce. I felt a gentle conviction at how much I identified with Paul's desire to be recognized and celebrated for his work. But what this movie illustrates is how the approval or interest of others is really fickle and only worth as much as their interest in truth, their knowledge of truth, and their valuing of the right things in this world. In other words, we see in Dream Scenario, I think, that people's opinions are not worth much if they don't value the right things in life. And broadly speaking, in today's internet culture, we see a lot of people valuing the wrong things. The kind of stuff that gets clicks, that gets traffic, if you just kind of take note, it's a lot of bad ideas, bad views. Certainly there are exceptions to that. I'm not saying that if something has a lot of traffic or views or celebrity and stuff like that, then it must be bad, it must be wrong somehow. I'm not saying that. But I think we see that very often the case, maybe most of the time, the kinds of things that get a lot of traffic are appealing to the worst parts of us. Or we're just seeing people in today's internet culture being praised or condemned for the wrong reasons. Or we see people praising and condemning the wrong people. As sad as this movie made me feel, I also found myself asking, do I really want to have widespread recognition or acclaim in this broken world, full of broken people who brokenly decide who should be famous and why? What I wanted to say to Paul, and what I need to hear myself, is, I think, don't try to change the world. Instead, look who's near you and change what one person's world is today. That's what's in your grasp, and that's what you have so much power to really affect, is the people that are right near you, instead of pursuing this kind of nebulous recognition from undefined large groups of people. Anyway, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, watch this one. You got to watch it. It will be uncomfortable, and then it'll be sad, but it will also be emotionally engaging, which is valuable to you. But most importantly, it's just going to be good for you. This one's rated R for language, violence, and some sexual content. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Dream Scenario. As always, I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I do want to say thank you to the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/Spiritblade Productions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.